friends, welcome to another Reading My Childhood Favorites week in my life video thing. This year we're in 5th grade, so we're talking the year 2000 to 2001, and I'm going to take you to my old stomping grounds. Here's my school, where I went to school in 5th grade. We already stopped here last time, so I don't feel like we need to do it again. But just down the street, there's the corner shop that we would stop at like every day. So let's go there. So this is Sunshine Market. I'm looking for something specific that I would always come here and get. I hope they still have 5-cent candies. I would like can you find us the live wires? Yes. These are the thick ones you used to get. Now they're all thin. Not as good as I remember. The #1 place that I remember eating these, we had this thing called the 56 Club. And I don't know who was responsible for it, who started it, but it was at this old fire hall up the road, and it was only for 5th and 6th graders. We called it the 56 Club, and it was really exciting when we got to 5th grade because we could go up to this fire hall and it would be like a dance. Every Friday night you would go and you would dance, and the girls would line up on one side and the boys would line up on one side, and the girls would wait for the boys to come ask them to dance. I'll take you there. Actually, on the way to the 56 Club, we might as well stop by my old house that I lived in for 5th grade and every other year of my schooling. I don't think anybody has lived there in the last like 5 years. It's probably falling apart. Oh, it's still there. Nope, nobody lives there. Oh, there's a deer! What are you? Oh my gosh.
A little fawn.
Oh, a baby one! Hi, welcome to my old house. Thanks for living here. So this is like the old part of the neighborhood, all of the older houses, and then they started building nice, beautiful houses up here, which just made us all jealous. And I would take my dog, we'll get into that. I had a dog at this time. I would walk him up here, I would get the mail every day, and then I'd walk him up here, past all the beautiful houses where I used to pet sit. I used to pet sit for a bunch of these people's cats when they went out of town. And then me and my dog would run up these stairs a couple times. Okay, so I found the old fire hall. This is where we had the 56 Club. This whole area, somewhere over there, is where I had my first kiss. I know this has nothing to do with reading yet, but this is just my 5th grade life. So all the boys would ask the girls to dance. I had a best friend. Like I told you in the last video, I had no friends in 4th grade. And then in 5th grade, a new girl started at school. Her name, we'll call her Dee. I convinced her to come to the 56 Club with me. We went to Value Village and we bought like $5 skirts because we were so excited to finally be able to go to the 56 Club. The 3rd or 4th time we came here, it wasn't just our school either. There was like 3 elementary schools in the area, and so we got to meet kids from other schools. Maybe that was the intent, for us to all meet each other before high school. But there was a boy, we'll call him V, and he asked me to dance. I don't really remember a lot, but I remember people were like cheering us on or something. It was a big thing when 2 people would finally actually dance together, and we would form a circle around them. We would go, ooh, oh my God. I remember it being super embarrassing. And then we came out here and just sat in the grass, and oh my God, I remember giving him my phone number by the end of the night. And then the next day, V called me at like 7 o'clock in the morning to hang out, and I was still asleep on a Saturday morning, so I was like, call me back later. He proceeded to call me back at 7:30, and then when I didn't answer, 8 o'clock, and I remember answering the phone and kind of just blowing him off, and then completely ghosting him and ignoring all of his phone calls. I think we would have kissed. I remember there being a little hill. We were sitting there. I don't even remember what happened. Now I guess it's a daycare, but imagine like Britney Spears, Destiny's Child. There were lasers. It was dark. Picture it. It's magical. So if we're trying to relive my 5th grade, we definitely need to dive into some photos from 5th grade. I have boxes of just random stuff. As far as books go for this week, something that's really cool is I actually have a photo of my bookshelf. Don't ask me how. So I need to go through these and find that. This is my stack of 5th grade photos. I know that because my parents would buy me the occasional roll of disposable film and I would just walk around snapping pictures and then make them develop them. So going through these really quick because we might as well. This is my dog, Pikachu. I wrote Pika on the photo for some reason. I don't know. Also in this box, I still have his collar. I have a whole strip of negatives somewhere of him as a puppy, but we never developed them and I can't find the negatives, so I have nothing from his puppy days. And I'm sure in that roll there would be pictures of me from 5th grade too. But anyway, that's when I got him. Here's some pictures of him. I put him in this horrifying hat. Don't worry, I also have pictures of me in this hat. Fun fact, this was my favorite hat and I had a friend at this time who stole that hat from me because it looked better on her. There are so many good things about this picture that I cannot show you. I have a friend in one corner. I have my other friend wearing the hat and glaring at me in this photo. That's me, and then there's my evil dog. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he looks like he's not having a good time. As far as outfits go, I'm wearing all black, which is all I wore in 5th grade. Either that or my guiding clothes. Oh no. I remember this year, my teacher, who I cannot recall, took photos of us the first day of school and the last day of school. The last day of school is, wow, I look upset. I'm in all black. This is also the year I dyed my hair red for the first time. Oh, this was full on choker years. There's me in my guiding shirt, camping. This is the year I got the nickname Chucky. This is the year 2000, so we had Y2K, the millennium, everything was millennium. I guess we did a marathon. Actually, you know what? I might have not actually participated in this, but I was still given a medal. I was questioning that. I was like, I don't think I would have run at this age or ever. This year for Halloween, I went as a dead cheerleader. Don't have any pictures of that. Here's me in my guiding sweater. Here's me in my other guiding shirt and my giant pants. Apparently all I wore were giant cargo pants. I wanted lots of pockets. I don't think I ever put anything in any of them. I have a Valentine's card from one of my friends. I have all my stuff from this week-long camp we went to called SOAR. I still have my little thing that I had to wear to identify myself. In it, there was a health sheet. Apparently I was 4'6". Go me. My old phone number, which I do still remember. This was actually the year that I got my own phone line. Or no. I wanted my own phone line, but I got my own phone number. So we still couldn't, like, I couldn't talk on the phone if someone else was talking on the phone, but I had a specific ring to my phone. My phone number was 760-0225. And I remember it was like a specific ring, and my parents would know not to answer it because it was one of my friends and I was on the phone all day. I just found this photo album completely from SOAR, and there's so many pictures of everyone I went with, and there's another picture of me. Oh, and then there's this one of me sitting in the woods eating a cookie. And if that's not me in a nutshell, you know. And here is the strangest picture ever. That's my bookshelf. In this picture, I can't tell the titles of anything, but you can tell that half the shelf is Babysitter Club books and about a third of it is Nancy Drew books, which means the first official book on my TBR for this week is going to be a Nancy Drew. I remember specifically liking the gray ones and not really reading the yellow ones, so I don't know which one to pick. I don't know if Nancy Drew holds up. This was definitely the year I was into mystery things. I'd like to go out and try to find a copy of Harriet the Spy because I know that I read that this year too. I was also really into all of the mystery books that the Babysitters Club put out. I don't really feel like reading one of those because I read Babysitters Club last time I did this video. I was also at this age reading Goosebumps. I was really into like the mystery horror stuff at this age. Fun fact, the next year we're going to be talking about Grade 6 is the first year I read Stephen King, so look forward to that. I will most definitely be reading Goosebumps this week. I do remember really liking the ones that were like the choose your own adventure, and I remember preferring the ones that were more realistic. I've always been on brand. I've always liked the same stuff. Still being totally on brand, this is the year I read Holes for the first time. This is my original copy that I originally read, so I'm very excited to read this. I love camping stories, books set at camp, any type of like outdoor survival-y type thing. Again, tune into next time, because when I was 11, I found this series, Survival, that I'm so obsessed with and I can't wait to reread. But Holes really did something for me at this age. Like, I was in love with it. So we've got this loosely planned, and then see if we can find Harriet the Spy. And then this year, the year 2000 was the year that Stargirl was published, and the year that I read it. You can see it on my shelf in that picture. This again is my original copy. I remember getting a gift card the only time I ever bought books, not at a used bookstore, at the, like Chapters, was during Christmas time when I would get, or my birthday, when I would get a gift card for like $20 from my grandparents. And I vividly remember buying this book and standing in the old children's section and having 3 books in my hand and debating which one I wanted. And I remember buying this and reading it and feeling so connected to Stargirl and feeling like this book was written for me. And it was like the first time I really felt like my personality was in a book. We're about to head out camping with my family, so I'm gonna bring probably my Nancy Drews for sure and talk to my mom about them. We're getting on this little ferry. So we're heading on our family camping trip. This was a pretty quintessential part of my childhood. Right now we'll be in Nakusp. We usually camped in the Shuswap, which isn't too far from here. This will be a new place, but this is what a lot of my summers involved as a kid. I just finished Holes. Does it hold up? Not really. I still enjoyed it, but it was probably more of a nostalgic reason. It's basically about this juvenile detention center where preteen and teen boys go and they have to dig holes all day. They have to dig 1 hole a day basically while they're there. It's punishment and it's also character building, but really there's an alternate reason that they have to dig these holes. I definitely forgot about the racial commentary in this. Some of the storyline is set in the past and some of it is current day, and I think the N-word was in here a couple times. There was some slavery jokes. It was in a way that you were supposed to acknowledge that the characters speaking that way were not supposed to be your role models or anything. Now I'm moving on to Nancy Drew. I've got The Ghost of Blackwood Hall, The Clue of the Leaning Chimney, The Bungalow Mystery, and The Mystery at Lilac Inn. I'm gonna read this one. Okay, so we're home now. Our camping trip was great. My vlogging was a little lacking. I spent a lot of time in the hammock, a lot of time kayaking. We hiked down to this amazing waterfall, did a lot of fun stuff, and I read 2 stories from Nancy Drew. Now, I need to evaluate what I mean by a story holding up. I don't think I even know what I mean when I say that. I think it kind of means, does the intended audience when the book was published, would the book still feel relevant to that same intended aged audience in this point in time? And I still don't have an answer, because I want to say no. My gut reaction is no, and that's mostly because of the writing. But I want to say yes, because there are themes I mean, how many themes are there in a Nancy Drew? It's just a mystery. There's not very, at least in the stories I read, there's not a lot of commentary on the world or society or anything. So I think a teen reading this today would still maybe be interested, because technically when I read this, it was 40 years after it was originally published, and I still gained something from it apparently. Reading it now was weird because the writing is so drastically different than anything published current day. Obviously the language itself is much more formal than a contemporary book, but even just the writing style, like there are quotation marks around thoughts, which just completely threw me off every time. So she's like sitting in a closet hiding from someone, trying to be quiet, but then there's like quotes and it says, "I'd better be careful," but then you're like, oh, she didn't actually say that out loud. And then it's funny because I guess we were taught to write this way, to write with creative language, especially when someone is speaking. Dialogue writing in school, I remember being told to come up with lots of different words instead of she said, she said, she said, she said. But thinking about current day books, they do say she said, Nancy said, she screamed, she hollered, Nancy yelled. But this one is more like how we were taught to write. And reading it is so unfamiliar. Instead of just saying Nancy said, it'll say the young sleuth said, the young detective questioned. Like, even though you know people's names, it'll use descriptive language for them. And not just once in a while, but like every single time there's dialogue, it uses a different descriptor for that person. And it just felt weird to read. If I read a book published today that was written like that, I would interpret it as the author trying too hard. So those are just my thoughts on Nancy Drew. I didn't encounter anything that would be harmful or out of date in regards to language or slurs, which I kind of expected, to be honest. In all of these childhood favorite books I've read so far, there's something that is out of date or just less PC than people tend to be these days. I do think if I read more stories, I would encounter more stuff like that, especially based on some titles and imagery that I see across the series. But I'm not going to read anymore because honestly, I didn't enjoy those stories. But that's as an adult who reads a lot of mystery thriller. These basic whodunits aren't appealing to me. But I'm not currently that intended audience, so I can't really comment on that. Next, I'm going to switch over to something that I know I love, and that is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. This follows, actually it doesn't follow Stargirl. This follows a boy named Leo, and this girl named Stargirl comes to his school and shakes things up. I read this for the first time at 10 years old when it was published, and then read it every single year for probably 5 years after that. Then I reread it for the first time in 10 years, probably a couple years ago on my channel. So I know what to expect from this. I know it holds up, which I'm very excited about, and I'm looking forward just to reading this. The adaptation has been in the works for so many years, and I think it's finally going to come out this year or next year. I'm very nervous to watch it. Again, if I was still the intended audience, I think it would be completely different. I do think that kids today will probably like the movie, but for me, I think a lot of things are gonna have to be changed in order for this to be relevant current day, but not talking about the movie. The book. I haven't finished Stargirl yet, but I'm heading to Value Village to see if I can find Harriet the Spy. I also just got my nails done. I got them white for the first time. This age is when we were all painting our nails in the middle of class with white out and getting in trouble. So this is a nod to that.
25 years in K-Town.
I've been shopping here that long. I can't find one. I saw one a couple months ago, but I didn't grab it. Now I regret it. Okay, I'm definitely not done Stargirl yet, but I wanted to just film a clip to note that Stargirl is essentially like, in current day, she would be an influencer. She would have an Instagram. She would be like a hipster. Actually, she wouldn't even be quirky nowadays by today's standards. The clothes she's described as coming to school in are just like long, flowy, hippie clothes. She has a pet rat and she plays the ukulele and she's just like so unique and different. Oh my gosh, I can just picture her Instagram theme. And it's talking about how she changes the school and how people start to get pet rats and get ukuleles and put flowers on their desks. She's a total influencer. While I don't connect with this the same way I did when I was 10, I still do consider it a favorite book of all time, and the message 100% stands up today. Though, like I said in my last childhood favorites, actually, okay, first, I keep referring to this as middle grade, but technically it's YA, but I'm gonna keep calling it middle grade. Something that middle grade doesn't do that I talked about in my last childhood favorites is I don't feel like the moral of the story is spelled out for you the same way that it is in YA. YA is the specific age range that tells you how you should feel about certain things. A character will have a realization that's like, oh, I should treat all people the same and respect everyone's ideas. So this book didn't do that, but the message essentially is that you shouldn't try to change people because everybody is at their best when they are being themselves. And though Leo didn't say those words and come to that conclusion, I think you as a reader, that's the intent. And I'm sure what I just said isn't true for all YA, but I know that does happen in a lot of contemporary YA that focuses on important, like relevant societal topics. If you're coming down the stairs, just come down the stairs. You don't have to be weird. We're
I don't know where to step. Right in the middle. It's
heading
so awkward.
for swim day, and I was thinking about not reading a book by the pool, but reading magazines and Archie comics by the pool, because that's something that I was completely obsessed with at this age. How about you?
I was obsessed with Nintendo Power.
What's that?
It's the magazine from the Game Boy magazine that Nintendo just re-released because it's the 30th anniversary of the Game Boy this year.
Oh, my go-to magazines were the teen magazines that I don't even know if they make nowadays. 17. There's one called Twist. That was my favorite. There was J14. There was Cosmo Girl. There was Teen Vogue. Yeah.
It's the one that still exists.
Teen Vogue is still a thing.
Pretty sure.
When we went camping, like girl guide camping, I was notorious for bringing like 20 magazines with me. Not an exaggeration. But my mom would rarely buy me, which one? I think it was Teen Vogue and Cosmo Girl because they were like $4.99. She would let me buy like the $2.99 ones at the checkout at the supermarket, grocery store. I'm going to Superstore because I think that's where I have the best bet of finding this stuff. Wow, I don't want these. Oh, 7-8. A guide to college. That's what I need. I guess I'm buying J14, which is what I would have bought, which is a little horrifying. If I were to buy magazines nowadays, it'd probably be this. Or this. So I just ended up grabbing one because who in this day and age can afford $7 for a magazine? I got Teen Vogue, which is my favorite. Not the most relevant cover for me, but maybe it'll be great. So like the whole edition is on Hillary Clinton, which is interesting enough. There's like some business perspectives, and then her fashion. Okay, this is more what I bought magazines for, was like how to pair different clothes with each other. So I do appreciate that some magazines these days, especially Teen Vogue, I follow them on Instagram and stuff, they're not just talking about beauty and fashion and boys like they kind of did when I was growing up. Sorry, what I meant to say when I got cut off was I appreciate the fact that magazines now are focusing on lots of different things, social issues. Next book up is Goosebumps. Liam has never fully read a Goosebumps book, so we're gonna read one of the Choose Your Own Adventures together.
Reader, beware. You choose the scare.
Oh my god.
Pip pip ta ta jolly good. Tally ho, and all that rot. Your dad exclaims. What? Dad!
Get your answer on page 96.
You can just forget the Screaming Armor story, Abby snaps from before Kip gets a chance to answer you. It's totally stupid and it's not even true! But long after everyone has gone to sleep, you lie awake thinking about the crates in your garage.
Another shriek fills the night. Kip and Abby are as wide awake as you are.
If you open the crate marked Good Night, turn to 33. If you open the crate marked Evil Night, turn to 49. Where are we going?
49, Evil Night.
So much like my experience with the Babysitters Club, if you watched my first episode of this series, it was hard for me to pin down a specific favorite from that sprawling series. So I just picked up one at random, one that I could find. So I did that with the Goosebumps series as well. I definitely cannot remember what my favorite was, but I picked up Return of the Mummy and of course the Choose Your Own Adventure Reader Beware one that we read all together. Do these hold up? For sure. I think Goosebumps is still a thing for kids nowadays. Liam enjoyed it. He was laughing a lot more reading them than I thought. And I don't remember looking back on me as a 10-year-old if I was laughing while reading, finding them funny and campy, or if I was frightened by them. But do these hold up in the way of would adults enjoy them, rereading them, the experience if they read them originally as children? Not so much. I mean, they were fine, but they weren't enjoyable by any means. If I wasn't reading them with my son, I don't think I would have gotten through them. I have requested Harriet the Spy from the library, which will be the last book that I read for this. And while I wait for that to show up, I figured I would have a movie night. Just me, myself, and I. My husband and child are out for the night. They're going on their own movie date to see some Fast and Furious thing that I know nothing about. So I looked up movies that came out in the year 2000, and I came across a ton of my favorites, and I know for a fact that I saw them in the year 2000 because I either saw them in the theater or we got them from Blockbuster. I think I talked about before how we didn't have TV, we didn't have cable at this time. I think it would be about 3 more years before we got cable, and as you'll discover in the future episodes of this, I regressed a little in my entertainment preferences because I didn't grow up with certain cartoons and stuff that everyone else was watching. I ended up watching them in my teen years, and my friends thought I was super weird for enjoying things like Recess and The Big Comfy Couch, and oh my god, yeah, I watched Barney when I was like 14, 15. The stuff that was around that everyone else was watching at this time, this is the time even Stevens was out, and Jet Jackson, and Lizzie McGuire came out, and not all, but a lot of like the Disney original movies or whatever they're called. Yes, I missed out on Xenon and Halloween Town and Smart House. I know all my friends were talking about them, but I probably just nodded along and pretended that I had seen them too. The thing about being alive at this time was we didn't quite have internet yet, so there wasn't as many opportunities for things to watch. We were all watching the same like 3 channels. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't 7,000 channels. You couldn't pause your TV. You couldn't record things. So when you came to school the next day, everyone had watched the same thing that you had watched after school. And the same jokes were being spread around, and everyone knew the same like catchphrases and quotes from last night's TV. So I definitely missed out on a lot of that and just pretended I knew what everyone was talking about. This is also the time of Kim Possible and The Proud Family and Fairly Odd Parents, which everyone has such nostalgic memories of, and I'm missing that. But what I lacked in TV, I made up for in movies because my parents were aggressively supportive of my love of Blockbuster. So at this time, we had Bring It On, which to this day is like in my top 10 all-time favorite movies. Actually, let me categorize these because I think Again, my tastes then are my tastes now. This list pretty well describes me. So we've got a group of like girly, let's call it sporty, girly stuff. I'm gonna start with Coyote Ugly. If you don't know what Coyote Ugly is, you should watch it, first of all. Second of all, so inappropriate for a 10-year-old to be watching, but that's another story. And then Center Stage. I love Center Stage so much. And then Bring It On, like an all-time favorite, my love for Kirsten Dunst. So there's that section of stuff. And then we've got, let's call it raunchy teen boy humor. So my favorite movies in that category: Dude, Where's My Car? A classic favorite. Road Trip, which, oh, it was so good. And then Scary Movie, which if you've seen, you might recall just full on dicks. I have a very specific memory of my mother taking me to the theater to see this. As a 10-year-old, I think it was probably rated R. They thought it would be fine. At one point she covered my eyes and my ears because things were happening I shouldn't have seen. Then we've got the high adrenaline stuff that I still live for. Vertical Limit came out this year. Loved it so much. Final Destination. And then my favorite movie of all time was released in the year 2000, Almost Famous. If you haven't seen it, just, it's me in a movie. Like, it's just all my, oh. And then last on my list didn't fit in a category, and it's Ginger Snaps. Oh, Ginger Snaps. This is actually a Canadian movie. And some of the worst, I mean, the best, but the worst special effects, what you might notice glaringly missing from here: child appropriate cinema. So I've rambled on enough, but you know, I'm letting you in on me at this age. That's the point. And I'm gonna have a double movie night with myself. I think I'm gonna watch Bring It On, because duh, and Scary Movie, because those are both on Netflix and I haven't seen them in a while, and I think it'll be beautiful. Oh man, Scary Movie. One of the most offensive movies I've ever seen, especially for a 10-year-old to be watching. I can't imagine at any age being okay with Liam consuming this type of media. Okay, I just got back from the library and I got Harriet the Spy. I have to be honest, this is a lot bigger than I remember it being. I thought it was just a little middle grade like everything else. 327 pages. Oh, this is a special anniversary edition. That's cute. This definitely isn't what I remember it looking like, though I can't really picture the cover. I'll put it here, what it looked like when I read it. Here's all I remember about Harriet the Spy. She spies on kids. She keeps a notebook. I think the notebook gets passed around and kids find out secrets about her or something. And I remember that she loves tomato sandwiches. Oh, and there's illustrations. That's cute. This might take me a couple days to read, but I'll keep you posted. Sorry for the update from my bed, but I'm feeling a little fluey. This book is flying by. I'm on page 236. I'm gonna go to bed early tonight, but I'll finish it tomorrow. I am enjoying it, but Harriet is absolutely insufferable, and I am sure there's like a big picture here, something for her to learn, something for readers to learn, but right now it's just like arduous reading about such a miserable, angry 11-year-old. If Liam ever behaved this way, oh my god. I have now completed this book for the second time in my life. I definitely misremembered some stuff about this book. I read it 19 years ago and I've never reread it since, so I don't blame me. But I definitely thought that there was some type of mystery in here. There's not. I think I was talking about how Nancy Drew got me into mystery books. Obviously kids mystery books, totally different than adult mystery books, but I thought this was a kid's mystery book. There's no mystery in here. Harriet is a spy, but it's just because she carries a notebook around everywhere she goes and writes down everything about everyone. She goes around and looks in different people's houses and actually breaks into people's houses to like watch what they're doing. So in that way she's a spy. I'm not, you know, arguing that she's not a spy. I just thought there was more, I thought there was like a mystery to be solved in here. I don't know. This is such a weird book to talk about because the intent of it is a little foggy to me. Is this just for entertainment or is this supposed to teach you something? Because if we are to learn something from this, from Harriet and her experiences, I don't know what that is. I don't really feel bad about spoiling books for this age range, but feel free to skip ahead. Harriet keeps his notebook and talks shit about everyone she sees, all her classmates. Like, she writes down a page for everybody and it's like, this person has a big nose, this person has no father. And then the notebook gets even worse because her classmates find out about it, ostracize her, bully her, and then she continues writing in her notebook even though she gets in trouble. I thought she was getting taught a lesson, and I thought the lesson as a reader was like to be kind, but then she gets a new notebook and she writes down all the same horrible stuff, and then like her plans for revenge of like how to get back at all these people for doing the mean things to her because she did mean things to them first. So she writes like, Beth Ellen doesn't like being hit. Make sure to hit her more. This person doesn't have a father. Make sure to bring up their father and talk about how they don't have a father and make them feel bad. Harriet is a kind of classic like spoiled rich kid, and there is some socioeconomic commentary. She learns that other people aren't rich like her. Like, not everyone has a full-time nanny and a full-time chef. I wish that was more of the focus. Harriet is going through a difficult situation because her nanny leaves the family, and that kind of is not the catalyst for her shitty, like a mean personality. She's an 11-year-old. I can't be too hard on her. But when old Golly leaves her family, she gets more, I guess, in distress, and that's when she starts taking her frustration out on everyone around her and treating people more rudely, but she doesn't accept within herself that that's why she's doing it. I think us as a reader are just supposed to acknowledge that, and maybe it's supposed to show that like rich people have problems too. I really do not know the moral of this story, to be honest. I don't know that she learned any lesson throughout this book. Since this is the anniversary edition, there is a bunch of stuff at the end where authors have like praised Harriet the Spy, like Meg Abbott and Judy Blume, and who else is in here? Lois Lowry. I haven't read this yet, but I think I'm going to now just to see like what other people have gained from this. Okay, I just finished reading these, and Meg Cabot wrote about how she loved Nancy Drew growing up, and Harriet the Spy was like one of her favorite books. And she said, words can hurt, but in the hands of a skilled writer, words can heal as well. That's kind of what she gained from here. Use the gift of words wisely, and you will never need to enter a building through a dumbwaiter. Life's doors will always be open wide for you. Concluding thoughts. The past couple weeks have been honestly a very different tone than the first time I did these childhood favorites. The first time I wasn't sure totally what books I wanted to read. I just had a general kind of idea. I had to hunt them all down, and it ended up being a super fun time. This time, most of these books I have very distinct memories of reading. 3 of them I still owned, and while the feeling of nostalgia is a very enjoyable one for me, and I feel like a lot of 90s kids, we just love it, but I almost feel like I don't want to say anything was ruined. That's a little dramatic. Besides Stargirl which, like, obviously, great book. Still a great book. Not that I thought I would enjoy these books the same as a grown-ass adult as I did 19 years ago, but I feel like I just have a different, like, taste in my mouth about these books now. None of them were overly problematic, but they just weren't quite what I remember. And obviously my preferences, my tastes, my expectations, my reading level was at such a different place that naturally I'm gonna have different feelings. But it's just a little weird of a feeling. This was definitely still fun. The video is still definitely fun to make, and I'm already looking forward to the next one, what I'm gonna read, how I'm gonna feel about them. It's always fun to see what I want to pass down to Liam, and that's it. That was me in 5th grade. And the books that I connected with in 5th grade, I didn't end up getting my hands on an Archie comic, but I was reading those for years to come. So we'll do that next time. I'm gonna find my collection is basically it. I didn't just want to go to the store and buy a new one that I had never read before. I want to reread one. I think I know where they are. So make sure you tune in next time to see if I find the elusive comic book collection. Let me know in general if you want to see another one of these. I would love to chat about, I don't know, you in 5th grade, you in the year 2000. Were you even alive? That thought makes me feel old. And with that, I'm gonna go. Bye. If we look through the front doors, we can see the library, which is where I spent all my time in 4th grade because I had no friends. Yeah, it's still there. You just can't see into it, obviously.
Oh, I see some books.
Do you?
Habits of Happy. Yeah, those are all the ones Liam was reciting to us. So I guess Liam's on track to learning how you learned, so that's pretty cool.
That's not how I learned. This school isn't still set in 1999.